Welcome to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. On this show, Kathy Dorsch of Kids Like You and my dear sister in the Lord will be with us, so you don't want to miss this show. It's awesome. Welcome to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. I'm Perry Black, and my special interviewer once again is Kathy Dorsch,
you said that right. Yay, yay for you.
A friend, a co-laborer in Christ, a sister in the Lord, and a sister from another mother.
That's right.
Is that right?
We are indeed. This is the big brother I never really had.
And once you had me, you decided I'm glad I didn't have a big brother.
He can't get rid of. I'm the little sister he can't get rid of.
Kathy, how long have we known each other?
Most, if not all of my adult life. I think I was probably 18, 19, maybe 20 at the most.
1980?
So
1980?
Yep, 80.
That's 43 years
81,
ago.
80, something like that. It's more than 40 years ago.
Yep.
If you knew me when I was pregnant, and we can't say how old my daughter is, then you know me.
I've known you since before you were pregnant.
Then 80, yep. We go way back.
Way back there. And some people...
We both had different hair colors at that time.
Well, my hair color hasn't changed.
No, it really has. If we can just like screenshot some pictures of Pastor Perry in the 80s, woo, would you look at that?
Well, it wasn't darker, there was just hair.
No, it was a lot darker too.
Kathy, you don't know this. I was in the hair club and they dismissed me.
There's a lot that we could both be poster children for that they would probably dismiss us.
Some people watch this show and probably don't realize that you, along with Randy Wright, were both instrumental in me learning what little I do know about television. Someone came to me, Randy Wright, who helped instigate television at Agape Church with Pastor Caldwell and Victory Television Network.
He had a different hair color then too.
I did. He did, or I did.
He did.
Yeah,
we all had a different hair color.
He's pretty salty gray. And he said, you need to have a show for teenagers. And I went, I don't know anything about TV. He said, well, you need to have one. And I said, Randy, that's not up to me. So I don't know how it all happened, but there goes a jet ski. This is lake living right here.
That's what we wish we were doing right now.
Yeah. I used to have jet skis, but those things are dangerous. They're fun. But he said, you need to have television for teenagers. And I said, well, that's not up to me, Randy. And he kept on me about that. And finally, somehow, I don't even know how, Pastor Caldwell said, I want you to shoot a pilot for a teen show.
You know how all that started is on Pastor Caldwell's original television program in Arkansas. It was like a 1-hour teaching program.
Yeah.
And there was not a lot in Christian television at that time. And so we would put little 5-minute puppet stories on there for the kids, like just to say, hey, gather the kids, the family portion, kind of like the old church days when the pastor would, gather the kids, give you a little talk and send them on back to mom and dad. So we would do that. And those little 5-minute segments with the puppets or a little story
really
or something
popular.
were such a hit with the family that he really began to think like, wow, okay, how should we diversify television? And again, it was such an open market. I mean, you think back then there was not really anything much for Christian television. In fact, when I was a student at SMU before we met and before the years we worked together, I remember telling my college professor a dream I had was for children's television that was Christian in nature, and he laughed me out the room. He literally laughed. I will never forget it. And then he said these famous words, there will never be anything Christian children's in television. Like, you can't put those 3 words together.
And Kids Like You television, which I had a little tiny part of.
You had a big part.
Bubba and his baby bear.
Bubba and Dixie were.
It's still on television right now.
It is. It still
and it's international.
Airs all over the world.
And it comes on, I think, on Victory Television Network on Saturday morning.
VTN has been graciously airing those programs.
Now, when we started television back in that day, in the late 1970s and early 1980s, there wasn't anything for teenagers on television.
No, in fact, I mean, you know, we're old enough to remember when the Midnight Special
MTV
was a big hit, and it was like, oh wow, we can do programming all night long. It just television evolved quickly from the late 70s and early 80s, and so that's when we're like, wow, this is working for kids and families. The Muppet Show was a big deal. So we're like, the next great thing is you were so vibrant in front of youth that you needed to do that.
Well, back in that day, MTV had just come out, and so many things that were geared from a secular viewpoint, and Saturday Night Live was really popular in its early days with the not ready for primetime players all dressed as bumblebees. And Pastor Caldwell's show moved from Channel 11 to Channel 4.
Right.
And they put me on television on Channel 4 following Saturday Night Live at midnight.
Right.
And there were young people that watched Nightlight.
Yes.
And their parents would tape it. And then they would have Nightlight parties with their church groups. And just to be honest, Pastor Caldwell's very, very conservative, and he didn't understand. He loved my sense of humor, but he didn't understand that I'd spend 25
Teenagers'
minutes.
humor was something else.
With music videos with Milo Lefevre and Amy Grant, and then some comedy and some silliness. And then we would wrap it all together within the last 3.5 minutes with a message.
Yeah.
And Pastor would say, well, Perry, you spend too much time doing things other than teaching the Word. And I'd say, but Pastor, you're a fisherman. You've got to use the bait.
Right.
And following Saturday Night Live, Christian kids aren't even up. I'm trying to capture that
They're going to bed early for church.
Teenager and young adult that just watched Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And it was challenging and rewarding and educational for me. And it's just one of those stepping stones that God used through kids like you and Pastor Caldwell's show, which is now Arkansas Alive on every day.
I mean, and television, media in general has just evolved enormously in our lifetime.
And now with social media, almost everyone is in media.
Everybody's running a camera.
Everybody's got a reel. They've got a selfie. They've got some blog.
But you know, and those were the children and youth that we were raising. So it was you know, a really awkward learning curve for us. But man, that generation of children and young people that were growing up in that just have.
So in a lot of ways, certainly in the state of Arkansas, I hate to tell you, sister, but we are pioneers.
We are, and we you know, and on that campus on Napa Valley, we were there with the shovels when it was nothing but a dirt field with a few plowed over trees, and we were pioneering then, and in our field we were pioneering, and that's the great thing about pioneers. It's really hard to get rid of them because they will learn to adapt and find the next frontier and do the next thing. So I have some real specific questions I want to ask you about what's next and what's coming. And
all right, Sister Pioneer. And we are still pioneering with Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Focusing. We're the only show, maybe in the nation, that's on every week, challenging people to foster, mentor, and adopt, and change the world one heart at a time. I'll be back with my Sister Pioneer here in just a little bit. God bless you.
A mission field around you is filled with young hearts needing a forever family. And at Second Chance Youth Ranch, our team is committed to providing healthy, stable, loving homes and families to hurting children in the Arkansas foster care system and those up for adoption. Please contact us if you feel the tug at your heart to help foster or adopt, and find out the steps you could take to help fulfill a child's lifelong dream. Maybe you can't foster or adopt, but you could help. The need for thousands of children in the system is staggering. But with the help of faithful partners and business alliances, we are meeting those needs right now. Would you help us make a difference? Every gift, regardless of size, impacts a child's life directly and helps provide for a home in the gap right now. Visit the Second Chance Youth Ranch website at 2CYR.org to read more, watch the stories, and to make a contribution for a hurting child's care. Monthly partners are needed, so please contact us right away. And as you partner with this ministry, you are partnering with the Heavenly Father that has promised to be Father to the fatherless. God bless you for helping Second Chance Youth Ranch.
Hey, welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. My host, no, wait a minute, I'm the host. You're the host.
Co-hostess.
Oh, you're co-hosting.
Today, anyway. Yeah. Otherwise, behind the scenes.
Kathy is my sister in the Lord, whether she likes it or not. And we've realized we're pioneers in Christian television, certainly in the state of Arkansas, for children and teenagers.
And to some extent, even, I would say, in youth and children's ministry, because we developed some things that were really new at the time. When you think back about traditional religion, reaching children and kids, children and youth was a real different thing.
You had a children's church, which was pioneering back in the 1980s.
Early 80s. And, and even during that time, started working on little things that were like I am cards. It evolved in the early 90s to a little booklet, Confessions for Raising Winning Kids. And those books have gone everywhere as well. Our mutual friend, John George, who
he take your book, Confessions for Kids?
He has it. He travels with that book.
He takes my book, Dream Seekers, all over everywhere. Canada,
and
America.
His ministry goes everywhere.
Yeah.
But it's another one of those tools that, again, we help to get into the marketplace. I still hear, I have moms and grandmas that are raising their kids that they had this, when this one was young, and now we're into second and third generation of families that we've reached. And so we're just embracing our age, and that's okay.
Isn't it great, Kathy, to be internationally unknown?
Well,
I mean, we've actually pioneered a lot of things, but we've never tried to become known or to become famous. Even
really
the show's not really about us being on TV. I contacted Jim Grant with Victory Television Network, and I said, Jim, foster care ministry is changing in the state of Arkansas and the entire nation. What can I do? Should I do a weekly, a monthly, a semi-annual show about fostering, mentoring, adopting?
Yeah.
He said, no, Perry, let's do it every week. So Victory Television Network, Pastor Caldwell, Sister Caldwell, Jim Grant, and that whole staff, they just immediately embraced this show.
Amazing partners.
And we've been very pleased that the VTN viewing audience seems to love this show because we try to be real, we try to be relevant, and we try to be informative, because there's 4,200 children in care, in foster care. A couple hundred of those are wanting an adoptive family.
Right.
And our partnership with VTN allows us to come into your home every week and remind you there are kids who are looking for a family just like you.
At the last banquet, Rachel made sure that all of the tables had some colored pages from the kids. Take a look at this one. Read that to the viewers and say share what that child said.
Before I came to the ranch, you just loved me.
It's a broken heart.
Yeah.
And this side of her heart is saying, please just love me.
Oh, yeah, please just love me.
Before I came to the ranch. And then her heart at the bottom.
I love that I have a family, and the family
Isn't that beautiful?
Is the ranch. And there's one side of it, and here's the other side of it. That's a home.
The little happy house that this child, and
that house could be their house.
That story is endless for hundreds. How many have gone through the ranch homes after all these years?
Well, I think well over 200. Billy and Rachel keep up with all those details because it's overwhelming to me. But right now, about 50 children are in our care and under our supervision on our campus.
Right.
And Perrin, our campus, 25-acre campus there in the city of Bryant.
Right.
And then our campus homes in Benton,
that
Little
number
Rock,
keeps
and so
growing.
forth. And
the
it just keeps
growing.
Matter of fact, we are actually building in 2023 a new foster home in Benton. We dedicated one in December. Then we dedicated our pregnancy crisis home in Bryant in January. One of our young ladies just had a baby, precious
beautiful
little baby.
I've seen her and the baby, and they're doing well.
So we're continuing to build.
You're always building. I've never known you when you weren't building.
Building houses for kids.
Isn't that
they
something?
need a family.
And I love that you are not willing to leave any kids behind. And that the beauty of this whole thing since Every Child Arkansas is finally this amazing coalition of people who aren't willing to leave any of our kids in the state behind.
Paul Chapman, Dr. Gold, Dr. Phil Gold, working together and then formulating with Governor Sanders, Every Child Arkansas.
Shane Baker.
Bringing us all together.
An amazing coalition of over, I'd say, nearly 30 agencies that are actively working together for it. You know, one of our projects in Israel reaches children, and what really got me in that, which really seems to be your philosophy too, is because of a quote, I think attributed to Gandhi, the measure of a people is in how they treat their most vulnerable.
That's good.
So the measure of any nation is how they treat their young or their elderly or their disabled, whoever is the most vulnerable in a population. How a state, an agency, a church, a community responds to the most vulnerable, that's the defining mark, and that's what
did James say about orphans and widows?
That true religion is this.
Caring for widows and orphans.
To care for them, supply. And man, does God ever get in the middle of that when you do that.
Yeah, I say this with all humility. I believe the reason our church, our school, our ranch are all debt-free, because our focus as pioneers is children and hurting people and kids and teenagers. And our supporters are so gracious to let us do that. And our viewers are so gracious to share our passion, to watch this show, listen to me ramble about the vision that God's placed in my heart.
Well, you know, every time I'm hearing you at Family Church, I don't see any less passion now than when we were working together 40 or 50 years ago. I'm losing count of the number of decades we've been doing some of this. But do you see yourself slowing down any?
I feel myself slowing down.
A little harder to get out of the bed sometimes.
You know, what's really funny, for decades, I didn't know how to get into the ministry. And then all this that's happening now, I didn't know how we would do any of it. Frankly, there are times with over 120 staff members and all that we do, I'm not sure how we do it, but it's moving quicker, moving faster, it's growing bigger, and the need has to be met. Kids deserve a family, and you could be an answer to that prayer. You could share a part of God's heart and our vision for hurting kids. Kathy and I, the old pioneer sister, we're going to be back here in just a minute.
Okay, Bob.
We'll see you.
I'm Alani, and I'm 10 years old. I like anime, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, and pugs because they're adorable, always there for you when you're emotional and stuff. I like to hang out with my friends, go swimming, see my brother when in summer or spring break. I like to sleep. I also like to watch TikTok and Snapchat. My least favorite parts about school is the work. And my favorite parts about school is seeing my friends. I want to be a doctor when I grow up because I think it's awesome and like you get to help people and stuff. I would like to read people's mind. If I think somebody's talking about me, I would really see the truth. I've been in foster care for a long time, like in the months. Kind of great, kind of bad, because you have to lose all your friends and start a new school. And the good thing is you get to meet new teachers.
What are some other good things about being a doctor that you would like?
I get to actually be in a permanent family, have sisters and brothers. I would love them to be nice to me, caring, loving, and asked me how my day was. I would like to spend time with them and hopefully go on vacations with them.
Welcome back to Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. We're sitting here on my back porch, but we're at Lake Hamilton, and we got dogs barking, we got people landscaping, we got jet skis, and a guy doing power washing.
I love porch life.
Porch life. It's awesome, though. The Lord has blessed us exceeding abundantly. In a previous show, I'd talked about how we got into the building business simply building our personal home so I could be debt-free and go on staff with Pastor Caldwell and you and Terry Nance at Agape Church in West Little Rock. And I didn't know how else to do it, but to be able to be debt-free and make myself so affordable, Pastor Caldwell couldn't afford to say no. And for the next several years, served on staff there, and God has just blessed us. But the key was God taught me construction.
Right.
With just the heart of wanting to be in ministry. And as a result, building that first faith house, now we built the entire Family Church campus. We built all of the ranch. We built all of our foster homes on our campus, both in Benton and Bryant and Perrin. And I don't make any money doing that, but it was God teaching me, and has literally saved the ministry hundreds of thousands, if not well over $1 million, which then stays in the ministry to help people.
Yeah.
But look at what God's done in my life.
Well, I mean, in the middle of building the kingdom, you were also doing some physical building, and in the middle of training lives, you were training leaders, and you were training builders and crews. I'm sure people that worked with
my
you. My
desire, I just wanted to be in the ministry. But what God did was took that desire and turned it into a profession that He uses, and it's the profession I built in Benton and Bryant and Hot Springs and Little Rock, all through West Little Rock, and put my daughters through college.
Right.
It's helped put my children through my grandchildren through private school.
Right.
It's helped me help the kingdom of God financially. I'm just living the dream.
Right.
At the age of 35, I'm living the dream.
There's no decade of life that you just quit doing that. You know, I think our culture mistakenly thinks you get to an age and you retire, or you get to an age and you take an early retirement, you acquire a certain amount of wealth, and then you enjoy your life. But in reality, every decade has its own unique ways to contribute, and you're really at a stage in life.
Every day's training day. Every day's training day.
And every day is not, I mean, I believe in rest. I believe in days and seasons of rest, but there's also just ways you continue to help grow others. I mean, you were building houses, but you were also building them for families.
But that wasn't even my goal. My goal was to be in the ministry. And God took a desire that He placed in my heart and turned it into a multi-million-dollar profession that I'm not really retired from it. I just don't build for profit.
Right.
I build as a prophet. Hey. No, I'm just teasing. But Dr. Summerall said in 1983 in a 3-night seminar at Agape Church, faith to change the world. And this gentleman had lived in over 70 nations, and at my age was still jetting around the world preaching the gospel, and a prolific man of God. And he taught faith to change the world. And this is what he said: nothing that I have ever done, nor that I am currently doing, can possibly compare to what I'm going to do for God. I took that and I typed that up in big letters, and I was in the shipping and receiving office. That was my job at Agape as the youth minister, and I put that on my desk. Yeah. Little did I know that our exceeding and abundant God would do what He has been doing, is doing, and is going to do.
Will always be doing.
Through Second Chance Ranch.
Yes.
Family Church Bryant.
Yeah.
What did they leave out? Arkansas Christian Academy. Isn't God good to us?
Yes.
I think I'm His favorite. I've been teasing about that, but I think it's true.
But you know, one thing about God, He makes you feel like His favorite, and makes us all, but you also make your families and your staff members and your children feel that same way, like you did something that changed my world, and that's all that matters to them, is that their world was changed.
Well, the lives that are being changed just because of my obedience are only possible because of the obedience of you and Wally and James and Pastor Bradley and Pastor Lance and Pastor Yerrick, their wives. All their wives work in the ministry.
Right.
And when we say work in the ministry, he that desires the office of a bishop desires a good work. At Family Church, Second Chance Ranch, Arkansas Christian Academy,
Sweat equity in it.
Work.
Yep.
Sweat equity. We are vested in it. And I believe that's why God's blessing it.
Right.
And that's why we have the thrill as an individual church ministry, an individual organization. We're not a campus of multiple churches or denominations of churches. We're just an individual ministry with a dream from heaven. The Apostle Paul said to King Agrippa, I think myself happy. I have been faithful to the heavenly vision. And that sounds cool. I've been faithful to the heavenly vision. But you know who's really faithful to the heavenly vision? Our Heavenly Father, because it's His heart and His vision, and He's just looking for people who are willing to let Him use them.
And you mentioned the word obedience, because that's such a huge thing. The more we obey together, the more God can do in the earth.
Absolutely.
I mean, you also talked to, we've said so much off camera, I can't remember now what we've said in a previous segment or off camera, but you talk about the chaos of the world and the things that's going on. Chaos has never kept God from doing things.
You'll find Him in the fiery furnace. You'll find Him in the lion's den. Are you kidding me? You'll find Him as you walk through the sea.
You'll find Him before there's anything to even find. I mean,
you'll find Him in the storm.
beginning, He was there and brooded over the face of a lot of nothingness and darkness.
What is that? What do you got?
This is how one life matters. It doesn't matter if you're building for a staff, a church, or whatever, but this is from one child who says, the ranch has been a blessing to me. I was put in a place where I was surrounded by people who truly cared for me. It was just a huge relief to find a place like this. Now, can you imagine a child being able to articulate, it was just a huge relief to find this place?
Yeah.
One child, and you say this all the time, one heart making a difference, one life, one child, one heart at a time.
Well, let me just say, Billy and Rachel,
obedience together
Chad
does.
and Joanne Strike, our clinical staff and the directors of operation, do such a phenomenal job with all of their team. And just recently, we had 4 young people coming into care. They were all girls. And the house that they were moving in had previously had boys. And in the late afternoon prior to church on a Wednesday night, Rachel and her precious little girl are out at the store buying stuff for girls.
Getting ready for girls.
And while I'm preaching at church, I'm not sure Rachel was there, Billy was, because they were at the house getting pillows changed out and bedspreads and pictures. And when those 4 girls showed up, she sent me pictures of those children enjoying that beautiful decor in their own
Probably
rooms.
The happiest day of their life.
We serve a mighty God, and we want you to get involved with us. There's so much for you to be a part of. So contact us here at Second Chance Youth Ranch, 2CYR.org. God bless you. We'll see you next time right here at Second Chance Youth Ranch TV. Bye-bye.